What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Charles, mXrevival, mXrevival.com, and today I am out in the big shop. I am working on our YZ300 Project Disruptor. Sadly, there have been some pretty big gaps with Project Disruptor in regards to how often I get to work on it. That's okay, this bike is really unique, it's really special, it has a lot of really great parts on it, and honestly, I've never put so many man hours into something. Every bolt on this bike, save for the titanium bolts and the clamps, are chemically blackened, and I've got to do those each pretty much one by hand. So at any rate, today we actually get to work on Project Disruptor, and that makes me really happy. More specifically, we're going to be focusing on the airbox and the tail end of this bike, and reason being is it is running one of our YZ Revoultion kits from Rtech, those kits that we import on mXrevival.com. And in order to convert this old airbox over, this is the 2002 through 2014 airbox, we need to remove these airbox sides. A lot of guys ask me, how do I install the Restyle kit or the Revoultion kit? That all starts with removing these airbox sides. This is one of the main ways you get the new rear number plates, the Revoultion or Restyle number plates, which is 2015 to 2021. That's the basic Restyle, is to remove these old airbox sides. We need to drill a couple rivets and install the new airbox sides, and then you're able to throw the new rear number plates onto those new airbox sides, and that's what completely transforms the look of your bike. Before we do all that and get these new number plates and airbox sides on, let's go over the bike a little bit. Just for some of you guys who are new to the channel, it seems to be growing pretty rapidly, which I'm excited about. Thank you guys very much. That has mostly to do with you, so that's awesome. I really appreciate it. Let's get into some of the highlights of this bike because they are really unique and man, just badass. So starting with the frame, the subframe, the swing arm, these were all actually hand painted in-house. I chose something completely different. It is actually a rattle can, if you can believe it. It looks amazing. It's an epoxy type paint for guns. It's very hard. It's probably not as durable as a Cerakote, but it's going to wear just like almost anything else. Paint, Cerakote, anodizing, you know, when things are rubbed against it. So the swing arm itself is actually out of a 2010 YZ450F. Now in 2009, Yamaha switched up their swing arm to a hydroform type where the linkage knuckle was bolted into the swing arm below the swing arm spars themselves rather than through the side like you'll see on the YZ250, YZ125, and some of the first generation YZ 4-strokes. This mod is actually really simple and it looks really good. All you need to do is get the swing arm and all of the corresponding linkage from that 4-stroke, and it will all bolt right in for the most part. So that's also a great segue into the suspension, which was done by Ride JBI in Southern California. JB and I got together and through a mix of that rattle can and anodizing and special Prime MX black shock bumpers and DLC coatings, we came up with this, what we call Bruce Wayne suspension, because it looks like Batman suspension. It came out so good. The entire theme of this bike is black and gray, and that's basically it so far as I can help it. There will be a couple things that get away from me that are somewhat out of my control or even skill set at this point in time, but for the most part, everything's black and gray and it looks so good. Of course, holding the forks up front are some Luxon split triple clamps. These were new as of last year. They are a really cool split clamp design that helps fight binding as your suspension is traveling in and out, lower tubes into upper tubes. They are super whittled down, really cool looking. They feature titanium hardware. The stem is black. I love that. There's even a spot for a steering damper up front behind the number plate, so needless to say, these clamps are about as trick as they get, especially for your old 2-stroke, which is absolutely awesome. Of course, we are running the Phoenix handlebars, the 118s, which are the fat bar, in the 70 profile, which is a nice low bend. And sooner or later, we're going to have to cop another custom bar pad from Jason over at Phoenix. Moving on to the engine, it's been completely rebuilt from the ground up. This thing was chewed up inside. When we took the bike apart, something had gone through the tranny, maybe a shift detent bearing, maybe a tooth off of a gear, I don't know what it was, but something had completely wrecked the inside of this transmission. So Jim Hasseker at Hasseker Racing Engines went ahead and massaged everything, replaced everything inside, micro-polished the transmission, installed a M-Spec Millennium Technologies YZ300 jug that those guys were awesome enough to send us. So this is actually a YZ300 now. And of course we have a fat head cylinder head on top of this bad boy. This is the most recent cut for the YZ. It's really, really good looking. Of course the domes are interchangeable inside. And as we round out the engine, we also have some Apex Racing ignition and clutch covers. These things are billet, they're super strong. This stock unit on the Yamaha, the stator side, is plastic, so these are a massive upgrade. Everything has been painted, and of course all the bolts in this engine, every single one, and the frame and the whole rest of the bike for the most part, have been all chemically blackened one by one. So this gray with these black bolts. It's just super unique. There's nothing else out there like it, and I'm really proud of that. Of course, you guys know I always use my favorite wheel sets, the SM Pro Platinum. I actually ordered them from myself on mXrevival.com. They are a really cool murdered out set of wheels. They have the matte black hoop, the gloss black nipple, chemically blackened spoke. We have a gloss black hub, and we did, of course, some more laser etching there with the project name. Came out really good, matches the triple clamps perfectly. We've got some really cool Dirt Tricks brake rotors. They are all black as well, and then I went ahead and hand blackened all of the brake rotor hardware. And so I tried something new with these wheels also. I went with a Tusk Tire, which is the Rocky Mountain brand. Tusk, you guys are all familiar with it. They look like Dunlop MX3S tires. I was kind of shocked. I'm actually really curious to try these tires. They look great. The knobbies are on par with just about anything else that I've used, and the tire's width is true to life. Sometimes you get a cheap tire or an affordable tire and they say they're like a 110 wide and they're really skinny. These are a 110 wide and they look really good. If any of you guys have actually used these Tusk tires, I would love to hear more about it. Just drop me a comment in the description below. Let me know if you liked them. I'll probably try them myself someday. But until then, I'd love to know what you think about them. So now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this video. We're all cut up. You guys have a basic overview of what's going on with Project Disruptor. I will also leave the full playlist for this bike down in the description below. We've got everything from bolt zinc plating to how I blacken the bolts in this chassis. As mentioned earlier, what I used and how I painted all these parts individually. So now we need to get these old airbox sides off this airbox core. Again, this modification works on all 2002 all the way up to 2021 Yamaha 2-strokes. So let's get into this. You guys are going to need a drill, some drill bits, very small drill bits. We're going to remove the rivets out of this airbox core. All the new plastic body panels actually come with new rivets, and they're even black, which is really great. They're not silver. That kind of kills the vibe on my bike. And then we'll go ahead and get this fitted into the subframe for the first time. It's been out of there for probably 2 years. And we'll also go ahead and throw the tank and shrouds on just so you guys can see what this thing's going to look like all said and done. Let's do it. Alright, we got everything we need to get this job done. We've got our airbox, of course. We've got our new airbox side and number plate, which is going to be really freaking nice looking, by the way. We've got our drill, we've got our drill bits, we've got our new rivets here to hold the airbox sides on. We're going to go ahead and drill the old rivets out with these drill bits. So we're going to start by removing our air filter, and then there's also a number 4 Allen down in here. This band holds the air filter cage into the air boot, and it's what keeps everything together. So we need to take all this apart. Then the air boot will come out of the airbox core and we can start drilling these old rivets. So now that you've taken your air filter out and you've removed the giant band clamp that holds the air filter cage into the air boot itself, you can go ahead and remove the air boot from the airbox core. You're going to want to pick a drill bit that's just a little bit larger than the rivets you're installing. That way, as you're drilling the rivet head, it will simply pop off. And once that happens, you're going to want to stop because you don't want to make the hole any bigger in the plastic. Otherwise, the new rivets aren't going to fit. Once the old rivet head pops off, you can go ahead and push the rest of it right on through. So now that you have all 3 of your rivets removed from each side, you can go ahead and remove your old airbox sides from the airbox core. Next, you're going to want to take your new Revoultion airbox sides or Restyle airbox sides and lay them onto your airbox core. Make sure to use a smaller drill bit than the one you used to drill out the rivets. You want this drill bit to be the exact same width as the new rivets. Now that you have all your new holes drilled into your new airbox sides, you're ready to re-rivet the new airbox sides to the old airbox core. Make sure to install the included washers on the back of the rivet, otherwise the new rivets are just going to pull right through the plastic. And don't worry if you make a few mistakes or booger up a rivet, this kit comes with a few spare rivets for just that reason. Just like that, your new airbox sides are installed and you're ready. Alright guys, the difference is pretty huge. You have the old 2002 through 2014 side here, and then you have the YZ Revoultion side here. This is what allows you to run the new number plate. It looks so much better, so much more modern, and it's so easy to install. Let's go ahead and snap the new number plate in there. So nice. So nice and sharp. Way better. What do you guys think? Alright guys, so as you can see, the job itself, very easy. The result, very awesome. All you really need is a couple easy tools, drill bits, rivet gun. I actually ended up using a pair of pliers to hold the rivets in the back if I didn't use gravity and the gun to hold them in myself. That helped keep the washer on the back of the rivet. And so the next steps for me would be to wash this thing up. And you can wash your airbox, of course, before you do this, but in my case, always with plastics when they're new, there's something on them called mold release. It's what helps release them from the mold when they're being built. So if you put your graphics on straight away, there's a good chance they're not going to stick as well as they could, and they can even start to peel. So maybe some of you have even had that happen to your graphics. So I'm going to scrub this whole thing together as one piece. Something else that's pretty cool, if you don't butcher your old sides when you take them off, well then someone else can use them. So you can help a kid in need, or somebody that can't afford plastics, or just maybe somebody wants to go back to that old school YZ look. You'd have these around. So for now, let's go ahead and slip this sucker into Project Disruptor subframe. We'll also go ahead and mock the tank up. It also has some really cool faux carbon fiber touches like these airbox sides up on top. I'll show you guys that in a second. And you get a nice feel for what this bike's gonna look like when it's all done someday. Alright guys, so that's it for Project Disruptor today. Stay tuned. Anytime I get the chance to work on this bike, I do. It's like I'm really close and I'm also really far away. But rest assured guys, there are still some really cool parts for this bike coming up. I am definitely doing my thing over here, so when I can show you more, I absolutely will. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions about this bike, like I said earlier, I'll go ahead and leave the full playlist in the description below, or if you have any questions as to where I source these parts, how I get them, then by all means, just ask. Most of this stuff can be found on mxrevival.com. And until next time guys, I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you soon.